So I don't know how many of you remember Keith Olbermann. He was a commentator on MSNBC for years before he got tossed out. He's now doing a web show at GQ, I believe it is. And he's just as unhinged as he's ever been. So let's take a look at some of the things that he's pretty pissed off about.
The debates are over. That is to say, Donald Trump's debates against Hillary Clinton are over, but Donald Trump's debates against America and democracy may only be beginning. Last night he made a statement in front of tens of millions of Americans that should by itself end not just his candidacy for, but also his eligibility to be president.
Should end his eligibility to be president. His statements, his words, are enough to end his eligibility to be president. Okay, well, what did Mr. Trump say?
Your running mate, Governor Pence, pledged on Sunday that he and you, his words, will absolutely accept the result of this election. Today, your daughter Ivanka said the same thing. I want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time. What I've seen is so bad. First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they've poisoned the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are seeing through it.
There is a tradition in this country, in fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris, let me respond to that because that's horrifying. You know,
He'll have to wait. He'll have to check. He'll have to see what happens. Now, here's the thing. The mainstream media has gone berserk over this. Guys like Keith Olbermann and the rest of the mainstream media have called it destroying our republic, as if Trump is going to start up a revolution if he doesn't get what he wants. He's going to call people to arms. And that's not what he's saying at all.
Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle? Trump, what I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense, okay? Burn in hell. It was, as I observed then, the first time in American history, through dozens of venomous, painful campaigns and a series of impossibly close elections, the first and only time that a candidate of a major party had violated the fundamental precept of our democracy.
Was it, Keith? Was it really? Did you not live through the Bush-Gore election? Do you not recall the amazing amount of lawsuits that went over because Gore wouldn't accept the results and then tried to recount 4 counties? If you'll recall, sir, 4 counties. The Republicans and Bush wanted to recount the entire state. They wanted to recount only 4 counties, which was against election law. The Florida Supreme Court tried to stop it. They tried to give Gore his 4 counties, and the National Supreme Court said, no, that's not the law that you have. Sorry, either recount it all or you don't recount shit. And Gore assumed that if he recounted the whole state, he would have lost. And the stupid thing is, there's a good possibility he may have won the whole state. But the independent recounts that were done by various news organizations found that Gore would have lost if he had recounted those 4. But never before, huh? Never before has this happened. Okay.
It shakes every one of our freedoms. It mocks every dead American soldier. It spits at every sacrifice made under our flag. It has no comparison, not to Al Gore, not to Samuel Tilden, not to Andrew Jackson. It foments revolution. It was and is the moral equivalent of treason.
Treason, huh, Keith? Treason. So nothing's been going on the last few weeks, huh? There's been nothing crazy happening the last few weeks that makes people question our election process. I mean, him questioning it is treason, but this what's happening is not. So this is Project Veritas doing an investigation on the various political action committees and the DNC and how they're engaged in voter manipulation and voter fraud. So let's go into this a little bit and kind of go over some of the highlights here. So Scott Fovel is part of Americans United, which is a 501c4. Now, that's basically a tax designation that the IRS uses, but in short, a 501c4, any earnings that it gets, any donations, any dollars that are coming in, cannot benefit any individual shareholder or member. The organization cannot directly or indirectly participate in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to a candidate. It can engage in some political activity as long as that activity is not its primary purpose, and those expenses may be subject to taxation. Now, this is not quite the same as a super PAC, which is a political action committee that is formed that can pretty much do whatever it wants and action whatever it wants, but it cannot work directly with a presidential campaign. So let's say I wanted to create a super PAC that says super PAC for Hillary. And I wanted to do, get money and spend money on Hillary to say, I believe that Hillary should be the president. That's fine as long as I never interact with Hillary's campaign and the money that she gets. I can't receive money from her campaign. I cannot get money from her campaign, nor can I get money from the Democrat National Committee, the party apparatus that helps support her campaign. I'm not allowed to have any interaction with that campaign. So my goal may be to get Hillary elected, but I have to do it as a completely independent organization. I am not allowed to get any direction from the Hillary Clinton campaign, nor am I allowed to give any direction to the Hillary Clinton campaign. So a 527 group is a group that's kind of, it's the super PAC. It's the thing that makes this happen. Now, if you take a look at the big difference between these two, a super PAC, a campaign committee, is under the FEC supervision, whereas a 501c4 is under the supervision of the IRS. A 501c4, its political activity cannot be the majority of what it does. It has to be 49% or less. A super PAC, there's no limits on its contributions, and it can spend all of its money on what its action, what it wants to do. The 501c4 is not required to disclose its donors, where the super PAC does. So there's a lot more sunshine in a super PAC than there is with this, what they call dark money. And because it's not allowed, it doesn't need to disclose its donors, that's why they call it dark money. Now, where is the problem? Well, the problem is that Hillary Clinton, its campaign is hiring this dark money to go through, to contract out to do certain things, which then goes through another contractor, which is another 501c4, which then may interact with the super PAC or just on its own to do things that once it interacts with something else, it's not allowed to talk to the DNC. It's certainly not allowed to talk to the Hillary Clinton campaign, and yet it does. And they are using this to manipulate all kinds of money and all kinds of voter fraud. And as you'll see through this video, you'll see what's happening here. So right there, the campaign, they're already breaking election laws. So Scott Vogel, director for Americans United for Change, he is contracted to Bob Creamer. We'll talk about him in a minute, but he answers to the head of special events at the Democrat National Committee and the head of special events for the and political for the campaign itself. All right?
Clinton campaign. We are contracted directly with the DNC and the campaign, both.
Yeah.
I am contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
The campaign pays DNC, DNC pays Democracy Partners pays the Fogle Group, the Fogle Group goes and executes the shit on the ground.
Democracy Partners is a private political consulting company with deep ties to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama's White House, and the Democratic National Committee.
So Democracy Partners is kind of a, if you look at them, if you look at their website, they're kind of a consulting and services company. If you're running for office or you're running for, maybe you're trying to get a bill put through and you need somebody that understands the logistics of moving through the process, how to get your message out, how to build coalition, how to get donors, that sort of thing. Now, this is contacted by the DNC. DNC goes out and gets Democracy Partners, and Democracy Partners pays the Fogle Group, who is also a part of Americans United. Now, here's the weird thing, as I understand it: Democracy Partners is not a not for profit. It is a consulting group that would take on anybody, conservative, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, anybody who had a particular message or something that they wanted to get out. And as such, they're not really trying to push through a particular political agenda. They are just simply the tools for getting it done. Now, in their case, their clientele is mostly progressives because it says cutting edge strategy for progressive values. But I'm not certain whether or not they should be separate or, objective, or if they can say, well, we only want progressives and that's fine. But they're not advocating a particular task or objective or candidate. They are the tools to get it there. If you think about, my goal is to make a car. The screwdriver is just a tool to get the car done, but the screwdriver isn't telling me which car I should buy. And yet, Democracy Partners is in bed with the Clinton administration or Clinton campaign and is actively making it a goal to get her elected. Now, if that sounds like, well, of course they are. They were hired by her. Yes, that's true, but they are not. Their ties go deeper, and when you get into that under the cover stuff, it gets very, very flaky on whether or not is this legal or illegal. And I'm having trouble making it all out myself. I'm just giving you what I'm finding here.
We are the primary mechanism as a team. Democracy Partners is the tip of the spear on this.
Wherever Trump and Pence are going to be, we have a bench.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. My role with the campaign is to manage all that.
Bob Creamer.
Here's where it gets really flaky. Americans United for Change is a non-for-profit. And Bob Creamer has hooks into both Democracy Partners, which is a consulting firm, and Americans United for Change. That, to me, is a clear conflict of interest. And yet, he is using the tools at his disposal to get what he wants for Americans United for Change. And yet, we don't see that there's any difference between the two. This is pretty sick, actually. But it's how the game is played nowadays.
For a little orientation, Democracy Partners is kind of a group practice of a variety of consultants that do essentially a wide variety of different kinds of political consulting.
I work with Bob Creamer one-to-one all the time. I'm the white hat. Democracy Partners is kind of the dark hat. Bob Creamer is diabolical, and I love him for it.
Yeah.
So remember what I said about super PACs. Priorities USA is the name of the super PAC that is for Hillary Clinton. And they it's clear that they are not allowed to have any coordination with the Hillary Clinton campaign. Hillary Clinton campaign can't tell Priorities USA what to do. Priorities USA can't help Hillary Clinton other than by doing it on their own with no money or no direction from the campaign. It has to be on their own. And yet, what we have here is a coordination effort between the Hillary Clinton campaign and Priorities USA. And how is that happening?
Quick deliverable that we have to deliver every day for our groups of clients who are involved in these projects. AUFC, A4C, which is Alliance for Change, Alliance for Retired Americans, which is part of AFL-CIO. They're one of our partners on the AUFC stuff for Social Security. Depends on the issue. And then there's the DNC and the campaigns and Priorities. Priorities is a big part of this too. The campaigns and DNC cannot coordinate with Priorities, but I guarantee you that the people who run the super PACs all talk to each other, and we and a few other people are the hubs of that communication.
Like, so you're kind of like intermediaries between the super PACs and the DNC. But they can, the DNC, they can't talk to each other. Okay. But you guys are kind of like...
We're consultants, so we're not the official entity. And so those conversations can be had between consultants who are working for different parts. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why there's Bob, who's the primary there, and I'm a sub to him, and I'm also primary to AUFC separately. That's why.
So there's like a Morse code between the DNC and the super PACs.
It's less of a Morse code than it is a text conversation that never ends. It's like that. It's kind of like an ongoing Pony Express.
Okay, so I mean
that's not as efficient as it could be, but that's because the law doesn't allow it to.
So listen to this, people. This is what we're talking about here. You have Americans United for Change, which uses the tools of democracy partners, the major toolbox of democracy partners, to coordinate Priorities USA with the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, and the Hillary Clinton campaign. And this is no different than money laundering that the mob used to do, except it's idea laundering, it's coordination laundering. It's having this third-party hub that uses dark money, so they don't know where the donors are coming from. They don't. You have no right to go and look at what's going on with them, and they are coordinating these communications between the super PACs and Hillary Clinton's campaign, who is not allowed. That is absolutely not allowed within the law. So that's what Project Veritas is uncovering here. So they're well aware that they're not allowed to let them talk to each other, and they're using this to get around the law. Donald Trump is saying, "I need to check out what's going on." This has taken me forever to go through all this and just look up these different organizations and to understand the difference between a 501c3 and a 527 group and the Hillary Clinton campaign and these political consultant committees. It's maddening. And to say that Donald Trump is crazy for thinking that maybe there is something going wrong here between them. Now, we haven't even gotten into what they're doing in these communications. We haven't even started that yet. But right now, they've already broken the law. They cannot be coordinating these communications. And yet it's happening. It's happening all under the nose of the people in power. The people in power are well aware that this is happening. They don't care. They're fine with it. And we're letting this happen. And it takes a guy like Project Veritas because ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and even Fox News isn't really doing any investigative reporting on this. Nobody's doing any investigative reporting on this. It's incestuous, and it's completely illegal.
It's not as efficient as it could be, but that's because the law doesn't allow it to.
It's not as efficient as it could be, but that's because the law doesn't allow it to be. There's a reason for that. Now, we could go into whether these ridiculous campaign finance reform laws make any sense whatsoever, if all of this is really useful or not. I don't know. But right now, they know that they're breaking the law. Most of these Democrats were the ones that put in these goddamn laws in the first place. And they do it because they know how to manipulate all this. And Republicans will actually try to follow the laws. Not all of them. And to be clear, not all Democrats are doing this either. But the Hillary Clinton campaign is as corrupt as it gets. And corruption breeds more corruption. These people are all too happy to be involved in this sort of thing.
The thing that we have to watch is making sure there's a double blind between the actual campaign and the actual DNC and what we're doing. There's a double blind there. So that they can plausibly deny that they knew anything about it.
Plausible deniability. I mean, it's frightening that we're talking about this way. Well, wait till you see what they actually are coordinating.
Script.
Oh, there is a script.
There's a script.
Okay.
There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite. They're starting confrontations in the line, right? They're not starting confrontations
The volunteers.
in the rally, because once they're inside the rally, they're under Secret Service's control. When they're outside the rally,
They're more effective out. They're harder to get in.
the media will cover it no matter where it happens.
I assume it's always in the rally.
Initiating the conflict by having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic.
So they use this third-party group, Americans United for Change, to go out and find people that are nuts. They're calling them crazies. They know that these people are unhinged. And they'll send them over to a Trump rally or to a rally at an opposition party, GOP, anybody that they don't like. And they go in there and they send them in there with a script to specifically start up trouble. And hopefully they will get the media to video this, because they know the media is on their side. They know this. The media is just as corrupt as everybody else. So they're going to say, hey, look at all these crazy Trump people making trouble. When they've set in the kerosene and the match, and are just waiting for the bomb to explode, metaphorically speaking, of course. They start the fire, and then they watch it burn. And they're using people. I said back in my PCU video, if you haven't watched that, I would love to get your all's opinion on it. But I said in my PCU video that we are being used, that you're supposed to pick a side, left or right, doesn't matter. Just pick a side, get religious about it, make sure your side is the most important side. It means everything to you, and believe nothing the other side says. And then start the fighting. And they manipulate all this to get their side in power. And that's all it's about, guys. It's always about the power.
Okay, I mean, honestly, it is not hard to get some of these assholes to pop off.
Right.
It's a matter of showing up to want to get into the rally in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt. Or, Trump is a Nazi. You can message to draw them out and draw them to punch you.
This is what they think of GOP and Trump supporters. They're naturally psychotic. They're naturally crazy. This is just get these assholes to pop off. It just show up in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt or Trump is a Nazi. Do something that will agitate people, because they're not just people who are just worried about the country and worried about what's going on. These people are crazy. And if you listen to them talk, I'll do whatever I can to get these assholes. They've already othered the people that are politically against them. They're nuts, they're psychos, they're crazies, they're assholes, they're evil. And anything we do, any election law we break, any manipulation we do against them, rather than, actually listening to them and finding out if they have a reasonable complaint about how things are being run. No, we want to manipulate them, draw on their emotions, draw on your emotions to get you fighting, to get you looking nuts, so that we can put it on TV and make Trump supporters and anybody who follows Trump look nuts. Even if you're not all that for Hillary, we know that you'll, you don't want to be with those people, right? Not those people.
Fovell boasts about the extent of his network of operatives.
So here, you have a schedule of events. We update this on an ongoing, rolling basis every morning.
Those are all the Trump appearances.
These are all the Trump and Pence appearances. Tomorrow, for instance, we are turning out 500 people in front of the Trump International in D.C. We have to have people prepared to go wherever these events are, which means we have to have a central kind of agitator training.
Yep.
We have a built-in group of people in New York who do this.
Okay.
We have a built-in group of people in DC who do this.
I was going to say, are they localized?
We have a group of people in Vegas. We have a group of people in Colorado. We have a group of people in Minneapolis.
So they hire these people, or they get them off the street, or whatever they have to do. They have them prepared. They have this mobile team ready to go. They have the list of Trump and Pence events. They send them out there to do whatever they have to. And they have a essential kind of agitator training. You actually go to a training school to how to be an agitator. There's psychologists and manipulators that can get these people to get the Trump supporters to pop off. You have these people from Americans United for Change. They go in there and they agitate, and they've been trained on how to do this. People at Trump events right now, they're just people who are just trying to support him. They're people like you and me who are just out there, just fed up with the way things are going on. And this is what you're up against: a mobilized unit of psychological warfare. That's what we're talking about here. What kind of sickos? If this is what you have to do, if this is the lengths that you have to go to keep your power and to keep enacting the things you think are right, maybe your shit just doesn't work and you know it. You know that the stuff that you're planning doesn't work. And yet you just can't let the other side win. So you'll go to these kinds of lengths knowing that the majority of the American public, if they actually listened to the truth and if you actually were informing them properly, they wouldn't agree to the stuff you're churning out. Because socialism, Marxism, government-run cities, government-run education, government-run Medicare, government-run anything just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It eventually implodes. We see it all the time. No communist country has ever been a great place. Ask anybody from Romania or Estonia or somebody who had to live under that shit. But this is what they have to go through. They have to lie. They have to manipulate you. They have to get teams of people to prey on your emotions. It's sick. It's absolutely sick.
We have a built-in group of people in New York who do this.
Okay.
We have a built-in group of people in DC who do this.
I was going to say, are they localized?
We have a group of people in Vegas. We have a group of people in Colorado. We have a group of people in Minneapolis.
I swear to God, this sounds like fifth column cells embedded in our cities to get people to do what they want us to do. Just teams of people, just these shadow sleeper cells that are ready to run out there and screw up any political rally that comes about. I don't know how illegal doing that is, but it's as creepy as hell at the very least.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground.
This guy is Aaron Black. He works full-time for Creamer at Democracy Partners. He directs the spontaneous protests at Trump and Pence events. His real name is actually Aaron Minter. We don't know why he uses the name Black.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us because we want it coming from people. We don't want it to come from the party. So if we do a protest and it's DNC protest, it's right away the press is going to say partisan. But if I'm in there coordinating with all the groups on the ground and sort of playing field general, but they're the ones talking to the cameras, then it's actually people. But if we send out press advisories with DNC on them and Clinton campaign, it doesn't have the same effect.
But it's not actually people. These are teams that they have embedded in all those different cities that go out there and talk to the press and talk to these people. They're not real. They're not grassroots in terms of, just people spontaneously getting off the couch and saying, I need to go protest this. And that's what they want you to think, but it's not. And the groundswell is not there. And when you see, on the other side of this, when you see everybody on Twitter saying, I don't think Trump, I like Trump, I don't think he's going to win, or you see this, coordinated effort to say Trump's not going to win, it's a coordinated effort to try to get you to believe that he's not going to win. Now, I don't know if he's going to win or not, but I don't like being manipulated, and I don't think you do either. And that's what this is all about. We send people out there to talk to the cameras, we send people out there to do these protests, but they're people that were sent by this DNC Rapid Response Coordinator who works with this Americans United and Democrat democracy consulting company, this Kramer. It's all a game. It's all a manipulated game.
We have to be really careful because what we don't need is for it to show up on CNN that the DNC paid for X people to. That's not going to happen.
So B and I did the Chicago Trump event where we shut down the light bulbs. Yeah.
Zulema Rodriguez and Aaron Black are bragging about a protest last March that turned extremely violent and led the Trump campaign to cancel a huge rally. Fights broke out between protesters and Trump supporters, and 2 Chicago police officers were injured. Based on our reporting, the event was not spontaneous.
We have a call with the campaign every day to go over the focuses that need to be undertaken.
I just had a call with the campaign and the DNC. Every day at 1 o'clock.
We met her at the Republican convention in Cleveland in July.
And then we also did the Arizona one where we shut the highway down.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
This Clinton dark machine is also prepared for the fallout from the violence they foment at the Trump rallies and other demonstrations.
Because the one thing I'm never going to do is have some kid get punched out at a rally and then not have his doctor bill and his legal bill, if he gets arrested, pay for it.
Well, that's nice. At least they take care of their agitators, even as they use them. Somebody's going to get killed one day. Somebody's going to get killed. The mob is going to break out. It's going to turn into a riot, and people are going to get killed, if that hasn't already happened. I mean, Ferguson, Wisconsin, these race riots, Black Lives Matter, how many people have gotten killed already? I don't have that in front of me, but I'd be interested in the comments. How many deaths do these people have on their hands? At the very least, people have gotten hurt. The 2 policemen in the Chicago, for instance. And as we get closer and closer to the election, the more they foment these rabid mobs. They send out these agitators who are going out there, who have been professionally trained to figure out how to get under your skin. They're going to cause problems. My advice to you is anybody going to a Trump rally, do not engage these people. They're probably not legitimate protesters. They're probably not legitimate people who are wanting to voice their opinion. They're probably trying to get under your skin. My advice is to give them complete silent treatment. Don't acknowledge them. Don't engage with them. Just leave them alone. Make them completely irrelevant to the process. That's the only way to get at them.
Ultimately, the whole endeavor is to get negative press of Trump and his supporters in local and national media.
It's something that Bob and I obsess about. Is we're not going to go to an effort to just do an event and not have anybody show up or not have it covered. We have to get coverage.
These guys have been doing their dirty tricks for some time, even before Trump won the nomination.
So I probably know your work.
I know you do. Everybody does. But
was you mean like a situation where it's sort of like
remember the Iowa State Fair thing where Scott Walker grabbed the sign out of the dude's hand, and then the dude gets kind of roughed up right in front of the stage, right there on camera? Yeah, that was all us. The guy who got roughed up is my counterpart who works for Bob.
And that was like storyboarded, that him getting roughed up or whatever.
We scenarioed it.
So you like lent yourselves to that situation, and it happened.
We not
it was
only
a
lent
self-fulfilling prophecy.
We planted multiple people in that front area around him and in the back to make sure there wasn't just a action that happened up front. There was also a reaction that happened out back.
Remember this woman? Her name is Shirley Teeter. She is a 69-year-old sufferer of COPD. According to numerous news stories at the time, she was assaulted at a Trump rally in North Carolina by Trump supporter Richard Campbell. The media played her story across the country for days.
She was one of our activists.
She was one of your activists
who had been trained up to bird dog.
Yes.
So the term bird dogging, you put people in the line at the front, which means they have to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, so they're getting the front of the rally, so that when Trump comes down the rope line, they're the ones asking him the question in front of the reporters because they're pre-placed there. To funnel that kind of operation, you have to start back with people 2 weeks ahead of time and train them how to ask questions.
Right.
You have to train them to bird dog.
No, I'm saying we have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake. Over the last 20 years, I've paid off a few homeless guys to do some crazy stuff, and I've also taken them for dinner, and I've also made sure they had a hotel and a shower, and I put them in a program. Like, I've done that, but the reality is a lot of, especially in our union guys, a lot of our union guys, they'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
They're rock and roll.
When
I need to get something done in Arkansas, the first guy I call is the head of the AFL-CIO down there, because he will say, what do you need? And I will say, I need a guy who will do this and this, and they find that guy. And that guy will be like, yeah, hell, let's do it.
So they take a woman who has COPD and they put her in a situation where she gets hurt. And they know this will happen. They make this happen. Now, I don't want to defend people, Trump supporters who actually engage in violence. You can't be doing that. You can't be punching people. You can't be going after people just because they're agitating you. You got to have more self-control than that. But these people have been trained in these methods of really figuring out how to get under your skin, really figuring out how to do these things. And they know they're going to get hurt. They're talking about, I've gotten psychotics. Why aren't you getting these psychotics to a hospital? Why aren't you using your money to really help them instead of using them for your own ends? Why aren't you doing that? The AFL-CIO, the union thugs, that's been going on. That's a joke. Everybody knows the unions are thugs. Everybody knows that they will go down and beat up people for the Democratic cause. It's all authoritarian. It's all violent. It's all manipulative. This is just the first time it's really been put on tape in stark contrast for everybody to see. And for God's sakes, I hope you people are seeing it. I hope you understand that the cause you are fighting for may not be what you think it is. You may not have been told anything that's correct. And we see it all the time. The rape statistics, the wage gap. How many things are you being told that are not true? They know they're not true. They're using you. That's what they all do. They use you.
Bird dogging. Bird dogging. It's a word we had not heard until we got into this investigation. But when we checked the WikiLeaks Clinton emails, we found references to the term in emails to and from the campaign. This is a chain where Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook suggests it might be a tactic to employ to shore up support with Hispanic voters. After our report, they may also need some help with the people in Iowa and Wisconsin.
So I have to be really honest. Iowa is a difficult case because it's a 50-50 state, and honestly, half the state is racist as fuck. I came home last night and really I was upset because that's not the way I was raised, and that's not the Iowa that I grew up in, but you kind of have to accept that that's the way it is. Now,
It's not who you are, but that's what the state is.
right. Wisconsin is just as bad.
Okay.
Okay, understand when these guys say somebody is as racist as fuck, if you vote against affirmative action, if you feel like blacks should be responsible for their own actions, that criminals should pay the price of their deeds, and you don't care about skin color, which means you're not going to vote Democrat, you are racist as fuck. Understand that that's the definition they are using. And once they've pinholed you as a racist as fuck person, you are anything and everything goes. We can do anything and everything we want to you because you're the enemy now. You're evil. No sense in sugarcoating it anymore. So there you go. Now, unfortunately, this whole video is mostly about voter manipulation. I can't be certain how much of this is illegal or legal, other than the collusion between the groups. But in part 2, I will talk about Veritas' video on voter manipulation. So thanks for watching. If you like my video, subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button here. And then in the, you can hit the watch my PCU. I don't know what I'm saying. This is an end card. I have no idea what's going on here. I'm new to this whole YouTube crap. So if I sound idiotic, it's not an act. I just have no idea what's going on. But go ahead and subscribe anyway, because maybe I'll have some informative videos for you.